Our story begins on the scorched sands of Tatooine, where the twin suns cast long shadows over Obi-Wan Kenobi's solitary figure. The newly knighted Jedi stood motionless, Qui-Gon Jinn's lifeless body still vivid in his mind, cut down by the Sith Lord Darth Maul only days ago on Naboo. Grief clung to Obi-Wan like the desert dust, but beneath it burned something darker, a flicker of rage, untamed and unfamiliar. The Jedi Code demanded serenity, yet his heart screamed for vengeance. In this moment of fracture, the path to the dark side whispered its first seductive call, promising power to right the wrongs that had stolen his master. Obi-Wan's steps carried him to the Lars homestead, where young Anakin Skywalker, the boy Qui-Gon believed to be the chosen one, now lived under the care of Shmi Skywalker. The Jedi Council had reluctantly permitted Obi-Wan to train the boy, honoring Qui-Gon's dying wish, but their trust in him was thin, their warnings about Anakin's potential for darkness clear. Obi-Wan gazed at the boy tinkering with a droid under the fading light, his innocence a stark contrast to the storm within his new master. The weight of responsibility pressed against Obi-Wan's resolve, and the dark whispers grew louder, urging him to seize control, to wield power that could protect or destroy. The rising action unfolded as Obi-Wan and Anakin departed Tatooine for Coruscant, their starship slicing through the stars. Obi-Wan's training of Anakin began in the Jedi Temple, but his methods were rigid, his patience frayed. The Council, led by Yoda and Mace Windu, observed with growing concern as Obi-Wan's lessons leaned heavily on discipline, lacking the warmth Qui-Gon had once shown. Anakin, eager to prove himself, absorbed his master's intensity, his own latent fears of loss mirroring Obi-Wan's unspoken grief. In sparring sessions, Obi-Wan's lightsaber strikes carried an edge of ferocity, and Anakin's wide-eyed admiration began to mix with unease. Beyond the temple's walls, the galaxy stirred with unrest. Reports of a Sith resurgence reached the Council, with whispers of Darth Maul's survival and a shadowy master orchestrating chaos. Obi-Wan volunteered for a mission to investigate a separatist outpost on Geonosis, hoping to confront the Sith and quench his burning anger. Anakin, though only a Padawan, insisted on joining, his loyalty to Obi-Wan unshakable. The Council hesitated, but allowed it, unaware of the darkness festering within their young knight. On Geonosis, the red sands and jagged spires set the stage for a confrontation that would alter Obi-Wan's path. The outpost teemed with battle droids and separatist leaders, including Count Dooku, Qui-Gon's former master, now a fallen Jedi. Obi-Wan and Anakin infiltrated the facility, their movements swift and coordinated, but the air crackled with tension. In a cavernous arena, they faced Dooku, his crimson lightsaber a beacon of betrayal. The duel erupted with blistering speed, Obi-Wan's blue blade clashing against Dooku's elegant strikes. Anakin fought bravely, but was quickly overpowered, flung against a wall by Dooku's force push, his body crumpling in the dust. Obi-Wan's rage ignited. The sight of Anakin's motionless form, coupled with Dooku's taunting presence, shattered his restraint. He unleashed a torrent of aggressive strikes, his movements no longer guided by Jedi precision, but by raw, unbridled fury. Dooku, sensing the shift, smiled thinly, goading Obi-Wan with words about Qui-Gon's failure and the Jedi's weakness. The dark side surged through Obi-Wan, amplifying his strength, and for a moment, he held the upper hand, driving Dooku back. But Dooku's mastery prevailed, and with a flick of his wrist, he disarmed Obi-Wan, sending his lightsaber skittering across the stone. As Obi-Wan knelt, defeated, Dooku offered a choice: join him and embrace the dark side's power, or die alongside his Padawan. The whispers that had haunted Obi-Wan since Naboo roared to life, promising vengeance, control, and the strength to protect Anakin. In that moment, Obi-Wan's grief and anger overwhelmed his Jedi training. He reached out, not for his lightsaber, but for the dark side, letting it flood his veins. His eyes flickered yellow, and with a surge of force power, he hurled Dooku against the arena wall, cracking the stone. Dooku, intrigued, lowered his blade, recognizing a new ally in the broken Jedi. The escape from Geonosis was a blur of violence. Obi-Wan, now teetering on the edge of darkness, carried the unconscious Anakin to their ship, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Dooku allowed their retreat, planting the seeds of a future alliance. Back on Coruscant, Obi-Wan concealed his inner turmoil, reporting the mission as a narrow failure. The Council, preoccupied with the growing separatist threat, failed to sense the change in him. Anakin, recovering from his injuries, noticed his master's colder demeanor, but attributed it to the stress of battle, his trust in Obi-Wan unwavering. Obi-Wan's descent deepened in the weeks that followed. Nightmares of Qui-Gon's death plagued him, each one fueling his hatred for the Sith and for the Jedi who had failed to prepare him for such loss. He began training Anakin in secret, away from the temple's prying eyes, teaching him techniques that bordered on forbidden, emphasizing power over restraint. Anakin, hungry for strength, followed eagerly, unaware of the darkness guiding his master's hand. Obi-Wan's meditations turned to visions of vengeance, his connection to the light side fraying as the dark side tightened its grip. Meanwhile, the galaxy spiraled toward war. The Clone Wars erupted, with the Republic and Jedi pitted against the separatist armies led by Dooku and General Grievous. Obi-Wan, now a general, led clone troopers alongside Anakin, their campaigns marked by ruthless efficiency. On Christophsis, Obi-Wan's tactics were brutal, sacrificing clones to secure victories, his once compassionate nature buried beneath a need for control. Anakin, though troubled by his master's harshness, fought with unmatched skill, their bond as master and Padawan strained but unbroken. In the shadows, Darth Sidious watched with interest. The Sith Lord, masquerading as Chancellor Palpatine, sensed Obi-Wan's fall and saw an opportunity to exploit it. He summoned Dooku to Coruscant, instructing him to nurture Obi-Wan's darkness without revealing the true Sith hierarchy. Dooku, ever the strategist, contacted Obi-Wan through encrypted channels, offering knowledge of the dark side and a chance to destroy the Sith who had killed Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan, torn between his lingering Jedi loyalty and his hunger for power, agreed to meet Dooku on Serenno, setting the stage for a pivotal confrontation. The rising action reached a turning point as Obi-Wan and Anakin arrived on Serenno under the guise of a Republic mission. The planet's stormy skies and ancient castles mirrored Obi-Wan's inner turmoil. In a grand hall, Dooku greeted them, his presence both regal and menacing. Anakin, sensing danger, gripped his lightsaber, but Obi-Wan ordered him to stand down, his voice laced with an unfamiliar edge. Dooku spoke of the Jedi's failures, the Republic's corruption, and the power of the dark side to reshape the galaxy. He revealed fragments of the Sith's plans, hinting at a greater master but withholding Sidious's identity, baiting Obi-Wan's ambition. The meeting turned volatile when Anakin, suspicious of Dooku's intentions, ignited his lightsaber, provoking a duel. Obi-Wan hesitated, caught between his Padawan's loyalty and Dooku's seductive promises. As Anakin and Dooku clashed, Obi-Wan's emotions boiled over. He joined the fight, not against Dooku but alongside him, turning his blade on Anakin in a moment of betrayal. The duel was ferocious, Anakin's shock giving way to desperate defense as his master's blue lightsaber struck with lethal intent. Dooku stepped back, watching with approval as Obi-Wan's fall became undeniable. Anakin, overwhelmed, managed to escape, fleeing Serenno in a stolen shuttle, his heart shattered by his master's betrayal. Obi-Wan, standing amidst the wreckage of the hall, felt a fleeting pang of guilt, but the dark side drowned it in visions of power. Dooku knelt before him, offering allegiance and naming him Darth Valen, a new Sith Lord forged in the fires of loss and rage. Obi-Wan accepted, his yellow eyes gleaming with purpose, unaware that Sidious's true plan was to pit his new apprentice against Dooku ensuring only the strongest would survive. The galaxy trembled under the weight of the Clone Wars, its stars dimmed by the fires of conflict. On Sereno, Darth Valen, once Obi-Wan Kenobi, stood at Count Dooku's side, his Jedi robes discarded for a black cloak that seemed to absorb the light. The betrayal of Anakin on Sereno had severed the last threads of his former self, and the dark side now coursed through him, a river of power fueled by grief and ambition. Yet, beneath the surface, a flicker of doubt lingered, a shadow of the man who had once vowed to honor Qui-Gon's legacy. Dooku, ever the mentor, guided Valen's training, teaching him the Sith arts of deception and domination, but his eyes watched closely, sensing the raw potential that could one day surpass him. Valen's first mission as a Sith was to crush a Republic outpost on Ryloth, a test of his loyalty and strength. The Twi'lek world burned under a crimson sky as Valen led a separatist assault, his lightsaber a blur of blue death slicing through clone troopers. The clones, trained to trust him as General Kenobi, faltered at the sight of their former leader, their hesitation costing them dearly. Valen's strikes were merciless, each one a release of the rage that had festered since Naboo. Beside him, General Grievous unleashed his own mechanical fury, his 4 blades spinning in a deadly dance, but even he paused to witness Valen's ferocity, a mix of awe and wariness in his reptilian eyes. The battle's aftermath left Ryloth's canyons littered with bodies, the Republic's defenses shattered. Valen stood atop a cliff, surveying the destruction, his chest heaving with exertion and something akin to satisfaction. Yet, as he gazed at the smoldering ruins, a vision of Qui-Gon's disapproving face flashed in his mind, fleeting but piercing. He crushed the memory, letting the dark side fill the void, but the encounter left a crack in his resolve. Dooku, observing from a command ship, noted the moment, his mind calculating how to bind Valen's loyalty before his doubts could resurface. Across the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker wrestled with the pain of his master's betrayal. Safe on Coruscant, he confided in Padme Amidala, his secret love, who listened with a heavy heart as he recounted Obi-Wan's turn on Sereno. The Jedi Council, informed of the incident, grappled with shock and guilt, their failure to sense Obi-Wan's descent, a wound to their pride. Yoda, his eyes heavy with sorrow, meditated on the Force, seeking answers, while Mace Windu advocated for a strike against Obi-Wan, now deemed a threat equal to Dooku. Anakin, torn between loyalty and betrayal, volunteered to confront his former master, hoping to redeem him, though his heart feared the worst. The rising action surged forward as Valen's campaigns grew bolder, his name a whisper of dread across Republic worlds. On Felucia, he and Grievous ambushed a Jedi-led battalion, targeting Jedi Master Plo Koon and his clone commander Wolf. The jungle planet's vibrant flora became a battlefield, vines snapping under blaster fire, fungi exploding in clouds of spores. Plo Koon, his lightsaber a steady green beacon, fought with calm precision, but Valen's aggression overwhelmed him. Their duel carved through the undergrowth, Valen's blade striking with a ferocity that bordered on desperation, as if proving his allegiance to the dark side. Plo Koon, sensing the torment within his former ally, attempted to reach him, but Valen's rage drowned out any plea, and with a force-enhanced strike, he sent Plo Koon crashing into a river, presumed dead. The victory on Felucia solidified Valen's reputation, but it came at a cost. In the silence of his quarters, he clutched Qui-Gon's old lightsaber, kept hidden as a relic of his past. The weapon felt heavy, its kyber crystals seeming to pulse with judgment. Valen's meditations now turned to visions of power, of a galaxy reshaped under his rule, free from the Jedi's dogma and the Sith's manipulations. Yet, the dark side demanded loyalty, and Dooku's lessons grew harsher, pushing Valen to sever all ties to his former life. A test loomed. Dooku tasked Valen with eliminating Satine Kryze, the Duchess of Mandalore, whose neutral stance threatened separatist plans. The mission struck a chord. For Satine had once been a light in Obi-Wan's life, her idealism a mirror to his lost hope. On Mandalore, Valen arrived under a storm-laden sky, his presence a dark omen. The domed city of Sundari buzzed with tension, its citizens unaware of the Sith in their midst. Satine, standing tall in her pacifist resolve, met Valen in the throne room, her eyes betraying a flicker of recognition despite his altered visage. The confrontation was not a duel but a clash of ideals, Valen's dark side aura pressing against Satine's unwavering light. He raised his lightsaber, ready to strike, but her gaze, steady, compassionate, stirred a memory of their shared past, of nights spent debating peace in hidden ruins. His hand faltered, and instead of killing her, he fled, the dark side roaring in protest, its grip tightening around his soul. The failure on Mandalore drew Dooku's scrutiny and Sidious's attention. In a holographic meeting, Sidious, cloaked in shadow, praised Valen's potential, but warned Dooku to control his new apprentice, lest he become a rival. Dooku, sensing the threat, devised a plan to bind Valen further, arranging a trap on Kamino to lure the Jedi. The ocean planet's endless reigns mirrored the turmoil within Valen as he prepared to face his former allies. The Jedi Council, desperate to stop the growing Sith threat, dispatched Anakin, Ahsoka Tano, and Jedi Master Shaak Ti, unaware that Valen awaited them, his heart a battlefield of loyalty and betrayal. The Kamino mission erupted into chaos as Valen and Grievous ambushed the Jedi in Tipoca City's cloning facilities. Rain lashed the platforms, lightning illuminating the clash of lightsabers. Anakin, leading the charge, locked blades with Valen, his blue saber meeting his former master's with a shower of sparks. Ahsoka, agile and fierce, flanked Grievous, her twin blades a whirlwind against his mechanical limbs. Shaak Ti, calm and resolute, coordinated the clones, but Valen's dark side prowess turned the tide. He unleashed a force wave that shattered transparasteel walls, flooding the platform with seawater, his eyes burning yellow with unrestrained power. Anakin's duel with Valen was as much emotional as physical, each strike a plea to reach the man he once called brother. Valen, torn by the sight of Anakin's pain, hesitated, his blade wavering for a moment. But the dark side surged, and he pressed the attack, driving Anakin back toward the platform's edge. Ahsoka, having disarmed Grievous temporarily, rushed to aid her master, but Valen's force choke lifted her into the air, her gasps echoing over the storm. But the victory was fleeting. Shaak Ti intervened, her lightsaber carving a path to free Ahsoka, but Valen's fury overwhelmed her, and with a brutal strike he sent her plummeting into the raging sea below. The battle's climax loomed as Anakin, fueled by desperation, tapped into his own raw power, pushing Valen to the brink. Their blades locked, rain streaming down their faces, the Force trembling around them. Valen, seeing Anakin's strength, felt a surge of pride tainted by envy, the dark side whispering that only one could survive. But before he could strike the final blow, clone reinforcements arrived, led by Commander Cody, forcing Valen and Grievous to retreat. As Valen's ship vanished into the storm, Anakin knelt on the platform, soaked and broken, vowing to save his master, even as the galaxy burned. Back on Sereno, Valen faced Dooku's wrath for sparing Satine and failing to eliminate the Jedi. Dooku's punishment was swift, a barrage of Force lightning that seared Valen's flesh, a reminder of his place. Yet the pain only deepened Valen's resolve, his visions of power now tinged with a desire to surpass Dooku and claim the Sith mantle for himself. Sidious, watching from Coruscant, smiled, his plan unfolding perfectly. Valen's ambition would either forge a new Sith or destroy him, ensuring Sidious's dominance. The galaxy, unaware of the Sith's internal strife, suffered under the Clone Wars' relentless grind. Republic worlds fell to separatist advances, and the Jedi, stretched thin, struggled to counter Valen's campaigns. Anakin, Ahsoka, and the Council prepared for a final stand, their hope pinned on redeeming Obi-Wan or stopping Darth Valen before his darkness consumed all. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the stars, as Valen's heart battled between the man he was and the Sith he had become. The Clone Wars raged across the galaxy, a tempest of fire and steel, but on the shadowed world of Mustafar, the air burned with a deeper darkness. Darth Valen, once Obi-Wan Kenobi, stood atop a volcanic spire, his black cloak billowing in the sulfuric wind, his yellow eyes fixed on the molten rivers below. The dark side pulsed within him, a relentless drumbeat urging him toward domination, yet whispers of Satine's compassion and Anakin's loyalty clawed at his resolve. Count Dooku had summoned him here, promising a final step to cement his Sith legacy. But Valen sensed a trap, his ambition now a blade honed against his mentor. Above, Darth Sidious orchestrated the chaos from Coruscant, his plans converging on Mustafar, where the fate of the Sith and the galaxy would be decided. The rising action hurtled toward its peak as Valen's campaigns left scars across Republic worlds. On Magito, he and General Grievous obliterated a Jedi stronghold, Valen's lightsaber carving through clones and Jedi alike, his movements a dance of controlled fury. Ki-Adi-Mundi, leading the defense, fell to Valen's blade, his final stand a fleeting echo of Jedi honor against the Sith's relentless advance. The victory was hollow, for Valen's visions grew darker, showing him not as a liberator but as a destroyer, his power a chain binding him to Sidious's will. Dooku, sensing his apprentice's growing independence, tightened his grip, assigning Valen to lead a separatist fleet against Coruscant itself, a move to test his loyalty and draw out the Jedi. On Coruscant, the Jedi Temple buzzed with urgency. Anakin Skywalker, now a knight, stood before the Council, his face etched with determination and pain. Ahsoka Tano, his Padawan, flanked him, her green-white lightsabers a symbol of her resolve. The Council, led by Yoda and Mace Windu, had uncovered evidence of Obi-Wan's fall, his actions as Darth Valen, a betrayal that shook their core. Anakin pleaded for a chance to confront his former master, believing he could reach the man beneath the Sith. Yoda, his eyes heavy with foreboding, agreed, but warned that Valen's path might lead only to death. Ahsoka, fiercely loyal to Anakin, vowed to stand by him, while Padme Amidala, watching from the Senate, wrestled with fear for Anakin's safety, her love a quiet anchor in the storm. The galaxy's fate converged on Mustafar, where Valen arrived under a sky of ash and flame. Dooku awaited him in a fortress carved from obsidian, its halls echoing with the hum of ancient Sith relics. The meeting was tense, Dooku's words laced with challenge, urging Valen to fully embrace the dark side by striking down a prisoner, Satine Kryze, captured by Grievous during a raid on Mandalore. Satine stood defiant, her presence a beacon of light in the fortress's gloom, her eyes locking onto Valen's with a mixture of sorrow and hope. The sight of her stirred memories of their shared past, of vows made in secret. But the dark side roared, demanding her death to prove his allegiance. Before Valen could act, the fortress shook with explosions. Anakin and Ahsoka, leading a Jedi strike team with clone commander Rex, had infiltrated Mustafar, their ships weaving through volcanic storms to breach the separatist defenses. The climax erupted as Anakin stormed the fortress, his blue lightsaber igniting in a blaze of defiance. Valen met him in the central chamber, their blades clashing with a force that cracked the obsidian floor, sparks flying like dying stars. Ahsoka, battling Grievous nearby, spun through his four blades, her agility a counterpoint to his mechanical rage, while Rex and his clones fought droid legions in the corridors, blaster fire painting the walls red. The duel between Valen and Anakin was a tempest, each strike a collision of love and betrayal. Valen's movements were precise yet savage, his dark side power amplifying his speed, but Anakin's raw strength matched him, fueled by a desperate need to save his master. Their blades locked, the Force trembling around them, and for a moment, Valen's yellow eyes flickered, a trace of Obi-Wan surfacing as he saw Anakin's pain. But Dooku, watching from the shadows, unleashed a surge of Force lightning, striking Anakin and breaking the deadlock, his intent to eliminate both if Valen wavered. Satine, freed by Ahsoka's quick intervention, rushed to Valen, her presence a silent plea, but Valen's rage reignited, and he turned his blade on Dooku, his ambition now a weapon against his mentor. The chamber became a maelstrom of light and shadow. Valen and Dooku dueled with blistering intensity, their blades a blur of blue and red, the Force erupting in waves that shattered pillars. Anakin, recovering, joined the fray, his saber targeting Dooku, creating a chaotic three-way clash. Ahsoka, having disarmed Grievous with a precise strike, rushed to aid Satine, guiding her to safety as the fortress trembled, lava seeping through cracked walls. Valen's power surged, his strikes overwhelming Dooku, and with a final brutal thrust, he drove his lightsaber through his mentor's chest, Dooku's body collapsing in a heap, his red blade extinguishing in the ash. From the fortress's depths emerged Darth Sidious, his presence a void that devoured the light. The Sith Lord, revealed as Chancellor Palpatine, had orchestrated the conflict, using Valen's ambition to eliminate Dooku and test his new apprentice. Sidious's crimson blades ignited, and the true climax began. Valen, Anakin, and Ahsoka faced him, their lightsabers a triad of blue and green against his red fury. The duel tore through the fortress, platforms collapsing into molten rivers, the air thick with heat and ozone. Sidious moved like a phantom, his lightning searing flesh, his strikes precise and relentless. But the trio fought with desperate unity, their blades weaving a barrier against his onslaught. Valen's heart battled within him, the dark side urging him to claim Sidious's power, while Satine's distant presence and Anakin's unwavering loyalty pulled him back. Sidious, sensing the conflict, targeted Anakin, his lightning pinning him to a wall, his blades slashing at Ahsoka, who fell, wounded but alive. Valen, driven by a surge of protectiveness, unleashed his full power, his force push shattering the chamber's ceiling, sending debris crashing towards Sidious. The Sith Lord deflected the attack, but Valen's blade found its mark, slicing through Sidious's arm, forcing him to his knees. In that moment, Valen stood poised to end the Sith, his lightsaber raised, the dark side screaming for victory. But Anakin, freed from the lightning, tackled Valen, his plea for redemption a silent force. The hesitation cost them, as Sidious, wounded but cunning, unleashed a final wave of lightning, striking Valen and Anakin, their bodies convulsing in the ash. Ahsoka, crawling to Satine's side, ignited her blades, deflecting the attack long enough for Rex to arrive with clone reinforcements. The clones' blasters overwhelmed Sidious, their fire a storm that drove him back, but the Sith Lord vanished into the lava's haze, his laughter echoing, a promise of return. Valen weakened, collapsed, his yellow eyes dimming, the dark side's grip loosening as Anakin knelt beside him, his hand on his master's shoulder, a silent vow to bring him back. The fortress crumbled, lava consuming its remains as Anakin carried Valen to a Republic shuttle, Ahsoka and Satine following, their faces etched with hope and fear. Mustafar's fires burned on, a testament to the battle that had shaken the galaxy. But the true war, for Obi-Wan's soul and the galaxy's future, remained unresolved. The fires of Mustafar faded into memory as the Republic shuttle streaked through hyperspace, carrying a battered remnant of hope. Obi-Wan Kenobi, no longer Darth Valen, lay unconscious on a medical cot, his face pale beneath the scars of his dark side descent. Anakin Skywalker sat beside him, his eyes fixed on his former master, the weight of their shared past a silent burden. Ahsoka Tano, bandaged but resolute, stood watch, her lightsabers clipped to her belt, while Satine Kryze, her hands clasped tightly, gazed out at the swirling blue of hyperspace, her heart torn between love and fear. The Clone Wars raged on, but the battle on Mustafar had shattered the Sith's illusion, exposing Darth Sidious's identity as Chancellor Palpatine and setting the galaxy on a path toward truth. The resolution unfolded on Coruscant, where the Jedi Temple stood as a beacon amidst the city's chaos. Obi-Wan, awakened but weakened, faced the Jedi Council in a chamber bathed in soft light, the weight of his actions hanging heavy. Yoda, his eyes deep with sorrow, presided alongside Mace Windu, whose stern gaze softened with understanding. Anakin and Ahsoka stood at Obi-Wan's side, their presence a testament to their unwavering loyalty, while Satine waited in the wings, her pacifist ideals now tempered by the reality of war. The council deliberated Obi-Wan's fate, their voices hushed, grappling with the paradox of a Jedi who had fallen, yet returned. Obi-Wan's silence spoke louder than any defense, his eyes no longer yellow but clouded with remorse, the dark side's grip broken by the love he had nearly forsaken. The galaxy, too, began to heal. The revelation of Palpatine's Sith identity, broadcast by Padme Amidala and Bail Organa from the Senate floor, ignited a firestorm of outrage. Protests swept the core worlds, demanding accountability, while mid-rim systems called for reform. The Separatist alliance, leaderless without Dooku, fractured, its corporate backers, Newt Gunray, Wat Tambor, scrambling to distance themselves from Sidious's legacy. Jedi strike teams, led by Plo Koon, who had survived Felucia's river, and Shaak Ti, rescued from Kamino's seas, dismantled separatist strongholds on Cato Nemoidia and Salukami, their efforts paving the way for peace talks. The Clone Wars, though not yet ended, lost their Sith-driven momentum, and a fragile hope emerged. Obi-Wan's redemption took root in the quiet moments. In the temple's meditation gardens, he knelt before Qui-Gon's lightsaber, its kyber crystal a silent witness to his journey. Anakin joined him, their bond mended through shared pain, no longer master and Padawan but brothers in truth. Ahsoka, her faith in the Jedi renewed, sparred with younglings, her laughter a spark of light in the temple's halls. Satine, choosing love over duty, met Obi-Wan under Coruscant's twin moons, their hands entwined, a vow renewed not in secret but in openness. The Jedi Council, humbled by their blindness to Sidious, began to reform, guided by Obi-Wan's confession that love, not detachment, had saved him. Yoda, stepping back as Grandmaster, passed the mantle to Windu, who embraced a new vision for the Order, one that honored emotion as a path to balance. The galaxy's transformation mirrored Obi-Wan's own. Bail Organa, elected Chancellor, worked with Padme and Mon Mothma to dismantle Palpatine's emergency powers, restoring the Senate's integrity. The Confederacy of Independent Systems, under new leadership, negotiated with the Republic, forging a tentative alliance that recognized planetary autonomy. Worlds like Ryloth and Mandalore rebuilt, their scars a reminder of the cost of war. The clones, led by Rex and Cody, were granted citizenship, many choosing to serve as peacekeepers, their loyalty now to the people, not a Sith's schemes. Anakin, his love for Padme no longer hidden, stood as a symbol of the Jedi's evolution, his strength tempered by compassion. Obi-Wan's final act was to return to Tatooine, where the twin suns still burned. With Anakin and Satine at his side, he visited Shmi Skywalker, now free and thriving, her kitchen a haven for the desert's forgotten. The reunion was quiet, filled with unspoken gratitude, as Obi-Wan saw in Shmi the motherly warmth that had anchored Anakin. He left Qui-Gon's lightsaber with her, a relic of the past entrusted to a future of hope. As they departed, Obi-Wan looked to the horizon, the dark side's whispers silenced, replaced by the Force's gentle hum, a promise of peace earned through sacrifice. Years later, Mandalore's capital gleamed under a clear sky, its domes reflecting the light of unity. Obi-Wan and Satine, now openly wed, stood with their young daughter, Jin, watching a festival celebrating the Galactic Accord, a treaty binding Republic and Confederacy in mutual respect. Anakin, a Jedi Master, laughed with Padme and Ahsoka, their bonds unshakable, while Rex and Cody, now advisors, oversaw security, their armor polished but unneeded. The Jedi Order, scattered across the galaxy, served as guardians, not soldiers, their temples open to all who sought balance. The Sith, though never truly gone, were a fading shadow, their power broken by the light of those who had dared to love. The galaxy was not perfect. Pirates prowled trade routes, and political tensions simmered. But without Sidious's manipulations, the Force flowed freely, its currents carrying hope to every corner. Obi-Wan, once a Sith, now a father and guide, stood at the heart of this new era, his scars a map of redemption. The stars above Mandalore sparkled, each one a story of loss and renewal, a testament to a galaxy that had found its way. And folks, that's our story. This one was a journey, diving deep into Obi-Wan's heart and the Star Wars galaxy's soul. Inspired by the emotional weight of the Clone Wars and the redemption arcs we love, I wanted to explore how love could pull even a Sith back to the light. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next tale.